We've got a card show tomorrow. So I thought I'd do a video about some do's and don'ts that we teach our card show team and things that we've practiced at card shows. If you are a LGS looking to attend your first card show, or maybe you're just an individual who's built a nice collection, wants to get in the game a little bit and vend, here's some things that have really helped us, some things I would avoid doing if I was going to my first card show, any card show in general. First on the do's is walk the floor. Have some time to go walk the floor before things get started. Go take a look at prices, what products out there, what's available, interact with other vendors, kind of get a gauge on what's happening around you. Be aware of your surroundings. You never know when someone's going to come up looking for a piece that you can point them out in the right direction to find, or someone's going to come up asking way too high on a card that you know you can get cheaper elsewhere. Or sometimes your pricing might be really competitive or your pricing might be really wrong. You may see someone's card and say, hey, that's way more expensive than what I have in my case. I better double check some prices. There's all sorts of little nuanced things that happen when you walk the sales floor, but just sort of that awareness and interacting on the show floor helps out a lot. One of the things I wouldn't do is have unpriced cards in my cases. I never want unpriced cards. And there's a few reasons why. One, you sort of set some ground rules when you have a sticker on a card and a price. That's typically the starting point for negotiations. Whereas if you don't have anything priced, you're looking up prices, you're looking up last solds, you'll probably do a lot of that anyway in negotiating a price, but at least you sort of set the pretense and it helps speed up a lot of the situations. You don't want to be a vendor who doesn't have any cards priced and all of a sudden you get busy and you've got 4 or 5 people wanting to check out cards, but they don't know what the prices are. And you're still searching on whatever public Wi-Fi network that everyone is using to find a price on a card. And by the time you found that price, maybe 4 or 5 of those people have walked away and gone to a different store, different booth. So keep your cards priced. It just looks much more presentable. It looks like you've spent some time doing the research and doing the work beforehand, which is a big deal for a buyer who wants to see that I'm buying from someone who knows what they're doing. Another thing that we do is we always make sure we have plenty of branding available. We take our show banners with us everywhere. You can see in this banner we have our socials in the other corner. Before that, before we had a banner with our socials, a lot of times what we do is print out QR codes with our socials. But your job, if you're, especially if you're an LGS, make it easy for the people that you interact with to find you later, to find you online, to find your store, to find out information, especially if you have online marketplaces or anything like that. Be as accessible as possible. If you're a new vendor starting out, do something simple. I see a lot of successful vendors get tablecloths with printings with their name and their socials, their Instagram and stuff in the front. Things like that that drive traffic back to you is important. Another thing that I wouldn't do is we never try to have a half empty table or half empty cases. Oftentimes, you can't help it. If a show's really, really hot and you're selling a ton of cards and you didn't bring enough to refill your case and you're not buying enough at that time, you're going to end up with some half empty cases. But at the start of the show, when people are first open to spending money, you really want to make sure you're keeping as much attention on your table and your booth as possible. And you do that with just having a good amount of product, full cases. It's kind of like when you have your store, people come in, the longer, studies show the longer someone stays in your store, the more opportunity you have to make a sale. Same sort of situation. The more people are engaged at your booth, one, the larger the possibility they see something they want and buy it. And two, the more you can interact with them, engage with them, create a positive experience, a memorable experience, and capture their attention. Another thing that we want to make sure we always do is have help. So if it's your first time going to a show, bring someone with you, a family member, an employee. If you can't afford an employee, a volunteer who maybe will work for some store credit, or maybe there's a card that you have that that person wants, and you say, hey, if you help me out today, we'll slide you that card, whatever it may be. you want to have help for a few different reasons. Number one, card shows can be exhaustingly long days, especially if you're constantly engaged with customers, engaged with other people. Sometimes you'll get tired, fatigued. You're going to have to use the restroom at some point if you're hydrating, what you should be. Sometimes you need to just step away and eat. Sometimes you need to step away and take a break. Sometimes someone leaves something at your booth and you got to go track them down and make sure they get it. Sometimes there's just so many different things where it's really important to have another set of eyes on your booth to help out. It's amazingly helpful at the end of the day when you're breaking down, when you're sorting out the cards that you intaked, and just a security measure, it's nice to have someone else around while you're working. So please don't try to go it alone. I've done a few shows alone because we've had other shows going on in other places, but we'd already committed to going to a show. And every time I've done it in the past, I've regretted it and wished I would have gone a different direction. The last don't that I have for you guys is don't overbuy, or what I call keeping up with the Joneses. I see a lot of new vendors and a lot of new stores end up at card shows where they're spending way too much money because they haven't set a budget beforehand, or they've disregarded their budget because they're having a really good selling. And so they're selling a lot of good cards and they think to themselves, sweet, I'll just turn this capital and flip it into more singles. That is great. That is the idea if you have the correct sell through rate on those cards that you're picking up. If you're going to sell every card you pick up in a short time frame, that's okay. But I see a lot of vendors buying at higher rates because the person across from them is buying at a higher rate, and it becomes an arms race that drives up the price. Well, if you don't have anywhere to move those cards without paying fees and taxes, and you get stuck with eBay fees and TCG player fees, and then you have to ship the cards, you could cut your margin down as low to 3 or 4% a card trying to keep up with other buyers. There's going to be times where we show up to a card show and we know we're not going to be competitive buyers. So we're going to focus on selling. There's a lot of times where we go to shows just to buy. That is our whole goal. And we are going to be the most competitive buyer there. And we are going to cut margins. But we have a huge sell through rate on TCG Player through eBay and a huge sell through rate of singles in our store. We typically stay away from high-end slabs unless we have a big show schedule ahead of us because that eats a lot of budget and those are a lot harder to move locally, and those typically have to go to eBay, which you're looking at 13% fees, whatever eBay is now. But I see this a lot. The overbuying, buying cards that don't fetch that mid-range premium. I see a lot of vendors spending 80% on $2 cards. At the end of the day, you stand to make 30, 40 cents that you spent 10 minutes in a transaction on. Those are things and easy traps to fall into that I see a lot. You don't always have to buy cards. If you're going to buy, make sure you have a destination for it. Those are just some do's and don'ts. I was thinking this morning, I wanted to come in and film a video. We have a card show tomorrow. It's like, hey, we'll make a video about that. I might make a video at the card show, not necessarily a vendor point of view. I think there's enough of that out there. It's pretty much all the same. Every interaction at a card show is following a pretty specific script. But I think the atmosphere of the card show, taking a look at what vendors have, I think that would be a cool video to do. At the end of the weekend, we're going up to Magazine Exchange's open house. MagX is a distributor. I'm going to talk to them and see if I can film some stuff up there, and we'll just go from there. Have a great day.